You're listening to West 4th and Goal, presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company, a podcast for high school sports fans in north central Ohio. I'm Richland Source sports reporter Kurt Conrad, and I'm here with Effie James and Noah Jones, and we're coming to you from the IdeaWorks podcast studio on West 4th Street in downtown Mansfield. Now, Noah, after the Washington Nationals swept your St. Louis Cardinals in the NLCS,
Kurt,
I'm sure you feel like maybe eating your feelings. And what better place to start than Old Carolina Barbecue Company?
Old Carolina Barbecue is authentic barbecue inspired by the Great Carolinas. Head on over for your Sunday meal and have all-you-can-eat barbecue at 2035 4th Street in Ontario, Ohio. And you'll agree it's the best barbecue in town.
We'd also like to thank Andy McIntyre and his crew at Two Cousins Pizza for their continued support. Two Cousins is the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. Whether you're hungry for pizza, subs, stromboli, or foldovers, Two Cousins has something for you. So give Two Cousins a call at 419-522-2211 or stop by the shop at 103 North Main Street in downtown Mansfield. That's Two Cousins Pizza, the official pizza of West 4th and Goal. We're thrilled to have Effie James back in the studio after his week-long hiatus. He sat out last week. His daughter was making her varsity volleyball debut. Is
Absolutely.
that true? How'd that turn out?
Well, as good as it could. I got to see her on the varsity court, which was great for me and exciting for her. So I was happy about that. The game didn't go as well as we'd like, but the experience was good.
Well, in your absence, we had an interesting discussion, and I wanted you to weigh in on it for me. Our guest last week was Ty Williams from Hillsdale. I am a proud Hillsdale alumni, and in honor of his being on the show, I broke out a vintage 1991 Hillsdale basketball practice jersey. I have a pretty firm rule. I believe that once you're a grown man, you shouldn't wear another man's jersey, no matter what. I think I got a pass here because this one was mine. I actually wore it almost 30 years ago now. Yeah. Do you have any jerseys hanging in your closet?
No, I don't. What I do have though, and Marquis Sykes and I always laugh about how many like old pairs of old practice shorts that you have, and when laundry gets low, you just wear those practice shorts around, and practice tees, and hundreds of Tiger T-shirts and practice jerseys and extra stuff that you have around. But I don't have any of my old jerseys or old practice stuff. And in hindsight, I wish I would have held on to some of that stuff. But back then it was the next year they had to wear it. It wasn't like it is now. We didn't get new uniforms, I think, every 10 years back then. So,
my son has a Francisco Lindor jersey that it's hard to get him out of it, but he's 12 years old, so that's fine. He can go ahead and wear Francisco's jersey for a few more years. But I've already told him how I feel about it. But he can do what he wants. Full disclosure, I do have one jersey hanging in my closet. It's a vintage Roberto Clemente jersey.
Mm-hmm.
My sister lives in Pittsburgh. She's a big Pirates fan. She just happened to be at a game that day when they were handing out a Clemente jersey. For our younger audience who probably don't know who Roberto Clemente is.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He was a great baseball player, an even greater humanitarian. He died on, I think, New Year's Eve of 1972. He was flying relief supplies to Nicaragua after an earthquake there. Plane took off. It was overloaded. It crashed into the sea. I don't think they ever recovered Roberto's body.
Oh, right.
He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame the following year. The Baseball Writers Association waived the 5-year rule, so he was inducted right away. He was a great player. So I think it's okay to have that one. I guess is our sports history lesson for today.
Yeah. I did get I'm a huge UConn basketball fan. I have been for a long time, and Danielle Marshall was my favorite player. I had number 42 in high school because of him, and I got my hands on a Danielle Marshall jersey, and I never wore it, but I just enjoyed having it. And like between so many moves in high school, I lost that thing. But if I had one, that was the only jersey I can remember ever having that I actually would have worn.
Right.
now I don't. So
Remarkably, we've reached week 8 of the high school football season already. There are 712 football-playing high schools in the state of Ohio. 43 of them remain undefeated through week 7, I guess, going into week 8. Of those 43 schools, 7 are in Division 3, and in the one Division 3 school in Region 10 that is undefeated is Mansfield Senior. We are fortunate enough to be joined by the quarterback of those Mansfield Senior Tigers. He's a repeat guest here on West 4th and Goal and is having one of the greatest seasons, I think. Get to that here in a minute. One of the best seasons a Mansfield Senior quarterback has ever had. It is my privilege to welcome Cam Todd to the studio.
Yeah.
Cam, thanks for coming down and joining us.
Thanks for having me. Feels good to be a second-year alum.
Absolutely.
I was
He's
basketball last year, but I like to talk football, so we can do that.
right. He's a friend of the program. He's been around for more than one go-round here. F, I got some stats here that I want you to chew on a little bit.
sure.
The quarterback for the Cleveland Browns is Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
He's completed 112 out of 198 passes for 1,496 yards. That's a completion percentage of 57%. He has 5 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. The quarterback for the Senior High Tigers has completed 88 out of 123 passes for 1,285 yards. That's a 72% completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
He has 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Wow.
Baker Mayfield averages 7.6 yards an attempt and 13.4 yards per completion. Cam Todd averages 10.4 yards per attempt and 14.6 yards for completion.
Wow.
I don't know what that means, but those are pretty impressive numbers right
Well,
there.
clearly, our quarterback is better than the Browns quarterback.
Maybe it means that Cam Todd should be playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Cam,
Clearly.
Cam, what's been the secret to your success so far here?
I'd probably say the secret would be the confidence that I have in my team. I love our offensive linemen. I love our skilled positions. I trust them with the ball. That's really all it is. Whether you have trust in no matter what you do, I feel like they're going to run their routes hard. Our lineman's going to block the right assignment, and that just gives me enough confidence to do what I like to do. I mean, my job is just to get the ball to the playmakers, so that's all I do. I don't think there's anything special really that I do besides just get the ball to the playmakers. And I'm, like I said, Choke tells me like we got a Ferrari. I got the keys to the car, so that's what I take pride in that.
Right. Last year in the 5 games you played after you transferred over from Ontario, you had to sit out the first 5 weeks. But in the 5 games in the second half of the season that you played, your completion percentage, I was looking back, right around 51%, about 50%. You know, what has been that's a pretty remarkable jump in completion percentage, right?
Sure.
That's a 20-point jump there. I mean,
Well, that's again, and I think he's given credit to the right people, his offensive line, and one of the things that I've been raving about is not only Cam's growth is the fact that I think the coaching staff has really done a great job as I watch this offense evolve from the beginning of the season to now, how they have really simplified the offense and really given Cam a lot of what I call confidence throws, and then he can make the big plays as he sees fit. But the offense to me is built around speed, tempo, and getting the ball in the hands of playmakers. And I think, just from an outside looking in, they have simplified things, and the team has really taken to that. And they've got a number of kids that can make big plays, and that's an awesome thing to have when you're a quarterback.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We got a lot of athletes all around. But I feel like the underestimated athletes is really our offensive line. I love our offensive line. They get like little to no. I mean, they get some credit, but never you hear about like the people preaching about the offensive line unless they do bad. But I mean, I love my own line no matter good, bad. I mean, those are my boys, ride or die. I wouldn't have anyone else blocking for me. I love all those big boys up there.
right.
How easy is it to, get to know that you're going to have the appropriate amount of time to make a throw? How much does that sort of relax you and be able to make a quality throw?
Well, I try to stay relaxed every play, whether I see pressure or not, because if I panic, everyone else seems to panic and the defense sees that. So I have to have my poker face on at all times. I mean, little do I show my emotions. Sometimes I like to get up and I can't get down at all, or else my other team will see that. So my poker face, I'd like to say, has gotten a lot better, because I used to show my emotion a lot. I used to be really hard on myself, and I would always talk to my mom and dad about it, and they'd be like, just wear your poker face. You signed up for this. You know what you're getting into. So I have confidence in myself and confidence in my team. So my poker face really is like, all right, let's get it. And then when I take my drop, I have reads, and if they're not there, Choke told me I can make a play, and he has faith in me making a play, so that's what I do.
F, if you had to guess, what was your completion percentage in 1993?
It probably hovered around 50%, And the game has the game has changed a lot, but I really truly believe that these quarterbacks, younger and younger, are able to see the field. I can remember, just to me, it was a one read type of deal. The coaches always talked about, well, if he's not open, then go here, and then if that's not open, check this. And then for me, it was, is Chioke open?
Look for number 25.
Okay, if he's not, then I'm going to run. And that's kind of what it is. And I thought that, the offensive scheme has changed. Everything is so much more opened up. When I played, we played with one, sometimes two tight ends, two backs, and under center, it was a true option attack. And when we did drop back to throw, it was always something deep. And so the game has changed. And so my percentage was not very high, but, I threw for a lot of touchdowns.
Right.
So when we did throw, I throw deep, and it was hit or miss. So.
Yeah, I was looking at the Ohio High School Athletic Association has an unofficial record book online, and basically every quarterback that's in that record book has graduated since 2000. I think that speaks to just the evolution of the game in that position, just in the in the past 20 years.
Yeah, the quarterback development, and that's one of the things that I've even said around here has gotten a lot better. I even think we need to improve that. I think we need to get more into our younger quarterbacks and start to develop them more, because this is where the game is going. It's a quarterback-driven sport now. It used to be just in the NFL, but right now, every level of football. I was watching, I have a nephew that plays, he plays fifth grade football out at Malabar, and I'm telling you what, their quarterback can throw the ball as a fifth grader, because that's what everybody sees. They want their center is doing shotgun snaps, and that's where the game is going. So, young quarterbacks got to be able to see the field now like never before.
Right. Jalen Reese is kind of the gold standard for Mansfield Senior quarterbacks, and I was looking back, and in 2013 when he led the team to a 10-0 season, his completion percentage was 61%. Right. And I remember thinking then, man, that's through the roof. Yeah. I mean, you're 10 percentage points higher than that. Did you realize what good company you were keeping? I mean,
me and Jalen are really cool, actually. He would stop by at some workouts, and I would just consistently talk to Jalen. Jalen's a leader. I love Jalen. And people still talk about him like I think how I want to be talked about when I leave. And he's just really comfortable to be around. He tells it how it is. He really just told me how to have a successful season. He told me the ins and outs, how to lead the team, what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. He's straight up, and I love everything about him, and obviously what he could do at the college level. I mean, even just be on a team at the college level is something I'd love to do. But I love Jalen. I'll probably tease him about the completion percentage through this week if I can keep it up. But yeah, to be in his company, obviously the 10-0, which is the company that our team wants to be in, that's crazy. But I told myself I wouldn't think too far ahead, so I want to be 8-0 after Friday.
Now, after last week's win over Ashland, Chioke said, he's given you more liberty, I guess, to check or, change call audible at the line of scrimmage more than any quarterback since Jalen Reese. What are you allowed to do, I guess, when you get to the line of scrimmage? Are you allowed to change plays? I mean, how's that work?
Top secret. No, I'm kidding. I can change the pass play to a run. I can change run to a pass. I can change stretch into a counter to a trap. I can and spread. I can do any run play you want out of there. I can do any pass play out of under center. We have the wristbands. All I got to do is look and just make a call. That starts with me trusting myself. Choke already trusts me. Everyone trusts me. They tell me every time before a game, make a decision and live with it. Next play. So that's what I go for. And I'm feeling a change. I feel like we can all agree on the same thing. And if not, we'll go back in the lab and look at it the next day and try to get better from there.
If you had to guess, how often are you changing plays once you get to the line of scrimmage?
I'd probably say I change about 8 to 10 plays, maybe a game, like 8 or 10. And not too often. I question our offensive coordinator because he knows what he's doing.
Right. Was it one play for you and that was it?
Well, the checking to the right plays is a lot about, how the defense lines up, and you really got to have a good grasp. And, Coach Bradley definitely does trust Cam with the offense, and he understands that once you get a whole grasp of the entire offense, you should be at liberty to make those calls. And because to be honest, as much as no matter how smart the coaches are, they're not on the field.
Right.
And, they'd love to be able to say, oh, no, wait, let's change that play right now, but you can't. You got to have a guy that has, understands the offense and what you're trying to do. And so the evolution of even that has gotten different, but being able to check and call plays at the line of scrimmage is extremely important as a quarterback. You got to keep your offense in a good play or the best play possible at that time.
How, without giving away too many trade secrets, I mean, how do you communicate that with the people around you?
To be honest, I can't even lie. I let the offensive line know, but when it comes to receivers and running backs, we sort of like on the same page. Like receivers, we just look at each other and we know it, because I mean, ever since I came over here, end of sophomore year, that's what we would do. 7-on-7s, we do 1-on-1s. We just look at each other and we know what to run. I mean, it's clicking, and I like that we know each other. We know each other pretty well. We have confidence in each other. I don't want to give too much away because we do have some stuff that we do. But I mean, other than that, like I can remember multiple times just looking at our receivers and looking at our running backs and just giving them a slight nod, and that nod could mean a million things, but we knew what it was.
The run pass option is huge in football at all levels, I would think. I mean, does that, you guys do some of those things, I think, and do you enjoy the freedom that comes with that?
RPOs are really fun. I love RPOs, except when I know for a fact it's not going to work.
How do you know that it's not going to work?
Maybe like they could be Mickey Mouse in the defense or something, and I'm like, oh yeah, ready. Then there's no safety. There goes the corner, and I'm like, all right, well, looks like it just turned to a run right there, right then and there. No, but I love RPOs. It keeps the defense honest. It keeps them on their heels, because I don't think many people know that I could like run the ball pretty well. I think I can. I think I can run when I need to, and which obviously then keep the defense honest. You have to keep the defense honest, whether that's running the ball, passing the ball. They have to be thinking. They have to be, we try to get the coach. Like we like it. Our offense likes it when the defensive coordinator's yelling at the defense, and we're like, yep, we got them right where we want them. Right. They're frustrated. We had an Ashland corner yelling at us, coach, how do we stop this simple bubble screen? We're like, oh, well, that's what we like. We got them where we want them. So, yeah.
Now, last year you were 3-2 as a starter, which and senior high was 5-5, missed the playoffs. All 5 losses were to playoff teams. I guess what were expectations for you guys after, probably not achieving, what you would plan to achieve last year? What were expectations coming into this year?
Effie said it earlier about our simplified playbook is, I believe last year with me coming in, there was a lot of chaos maybe going on. Right. A lot of people's heads were spinning. Like we'd play week 2 and 3 and be like, oh, just wait till Cam comes back, then we'll be good. But we got to fix it now. So when I come in, we're not still fixing it later. Like practices were different, energy different. A lot of us was going through our head. Our defense is a lot more simplified. Offense a lot more simplified. We just want to play football. That's something I love our coaches have done this year. They just preached to us about playing football, doing our job, if the offense does this and you're on defense, this is what we do. On offensive, defensive, this is what we do. And then after that, we play football. It might not go how it's written on paper because you can write anything on paper. But when we get out there, it's a whole nother ball game. So last year, like we played sort of timid, I think, because so much going through our head, mistakes were made, and we get yelled at for mistakes, but we weren't trying to do that, which, I mean, it's more simplified now. We have the will to go, and I love our coaches and how they simplified everything and just keep encouraging us to just play football, have fun with your teammates. The little stuff we were looking over last year, I think we're embracing that a lot this year.
I would imagine familiarity with your personnel, too. I mean, last year it was kind of all new for you, all new for your receivers, and just getting to know those guys a little bit better and just your evolution as a quarterback, I would imagine. How have you evolved, I guess, as a quarterback since then?
The receivers really would just talk to me because the receivers, everyone knows on the team that I get hard on myself. Like, literally 7-on-7, if, like, I miss a pass or two, like, my head is down. I'm, like, not in it. And then they'd all come over to me like, bro, you got this. We got you. I'm like, to me, like, I have OCD when it comes to, like, football or, like, school. Like, everything needs to be perfect. And if it's not, like, it bugs me. It gets me. They see that. They come for me, which gives me trust in them. Obviously, when you build bonds with others, like you see it shows. And I just gave them a chance to do whatever they wanted to do. When they run their routes, I know we have to have confidence. We have to extend it because the moment when you think is when you hesitate. And if you play football hesitating, that doesn't work out so well. So we just try to react and play. And like our coach has said, next play, we'll live with the decision. And that's really our attitude, mindset been going into the whole year, and it's been working for us.
Right. Now, you guys coming into this year, you had expectations, I'm sure. You play the defending regional champ in week 1, and you beat them pretty handily. We're talking about Norwalk. I think it was 21-10 that game was. What does that do for you in terms of just confidence? And see, I mean, it's one thing to say we're going to be a good football team, but to go out there and actually see it pay off, I would imagine that's a shot in the arm for you, I would think.
Oh, that's funny because a lot of my friends come up to me. They're like, bro, you guys are good. You guys are legit. And I'm like, well, we don't know how good we are because, like, we're expecting our coaches, to be like, oh, yeah, good. It's like, nope, this wrong, that wrong, that wrong, that wrong. We got this to work on, So all our other friends, like I got friends from Shelby, Ontario, like, you guys are good. You guys are legit. And I'm like, well, we also need to work on this and work on that. So that's really what we got to keep it up. I think it's good. We all reacted well after the Norwalk win because we knew we could be something special, I think. And now that each game it's getting closer, we see that, but we can't be satisfied with where we are. We can't become, what does Coach Adams say, complacent with who we are. We always have to strive to get better. And then Choke adds on to that, like, get better in life, not just football, school. And so I think it's just like we overlook all the little things we get from football. And that's why I love the game so much because it gets you ready for life in general, and that's what it prepares you for.
A little bit of confidence, I would think, goes a long, long way, and
sure.
A lot of confidence, I guess, goes a long way too.
Well, it does, and one of the things I appreciate about I've been able to watch a few Tiger practices, and one of the things that I appreciated the way the staff handles their practices are so cerebral, and they focus so much on the little things, and that's a benefit of having number one, a lot of senior leadership on your team. You don't have to, generally when you're practicing football, you got to bang heads, you got to be physical. But if you watch, when the practices that I see, there's not a whole lot of banging going on. It's real cerebral about technique. It's about being where you're supposed to be, making reads, and that stuff. That's a benefit. That's a credit to the leadership on this team that they don't have to practice in such a way that it could be dangerous or damaging to your depth, but yet still get a lot accomplished in practice. Because when you watch them on game night, like I told Cam, the offense has evolved each week. I'm watching that offense get better and better. Now the defense was, ahead of the offense in the beginning, but I'm watching the offense get better and better. And what I see is just confidence, just like we talked about. Right. It is nothing more than people trusting one another, people being confident, and that starts with your quarterback trusting your offensive line. Then he trusts his receivers, and then he trusts the system. And then after that, you can, then you're unlimited of what you can do on the offensive end. And then after that, you got to figure out, how do I handle adversity now? How do I handle when things go wrong?
Right. And the following week after that Norwalk win, you guys played Cleveland John Hay. You beat them 41-0. And the only reason that sticks out to me is because I talked to you after the game, and you were really dissatisfied with the way you guys had prepared for that game during the week and in the pregame. And you weren't certainly not going to shy away from that. I mean, you were going to let guys know, it seemed like. And, I mean, how is it, I guess, in the time that you've been here that allows you to kind of stand up and, be a leader for the guys that you didn't necessarily grow up with or play with your entire life, but they seem to be looking to you for the answers there?
I love being that guy. Like, I'm not trying to sound arrogant or cocky, but, like, when people look up to me, I take pride in my leadership role. And I guess I found out I was a leader maybe last year when I got elected team captain, and I was sitting out the first 5 games.
Right.
And I don't want to say they were desperate or something, but they were looking for a leader, and they knew I brought that to the table. So I was excited to take that. My leadership role is, I have one job, and that is to get all my brothers ready for war, prepare for war. I've seen it on, like, other videos. I've listened to speakers, preachers. They're like, as a leader, you have to get people prepared. You have to get them ready. And so when we're not prepared, we're not ready, that all falls on me. That might not be what the people in the crowd are thinking, but that's what I'm thinking. So when, like I said, our John Hay game, we came in, practiced lackadaisical, warm up, no one was clapping, no one was counting, the little things like that. Everybody count, everybody clap, everybody get involved, everybody get your mind ready. I don't care if we're playing the YMCA flag team. I don't care if we're playing the New England Patriots. Like, same preparation every day. It has to become routine. And once you get into a routine, it's hard to break that routine. And like I said, once we get in a routine of playing well, it's hard to break that routine of playing well. Routine of winning, routine of practicing well, and all you see is improvement. And that's what we like to see, is just keep improving. And with weeks like that, when we find ourselves in slumps, that's a step back when we could have took 2 steps forward. And now we're working hard the next day to get 4 steps. And maybe we might be cramming a little bit too more in practice. Well, that's because we didn't do well yesterday. Well, now we're trying to cram it all in today. Well, that everything, it's a trickle-down effect in a good way and a bad way.
Right. F, I mean, that's the sign of a leader, right? I mean, you got guys looking in the mirror after a 41-0 win.
Yeah. The thing about the position, it kind of comes with that role. The problem is sometimes, you have some quarterbacks that don't embrace that. So even if you are a quarterback and you don't see yourself as a leader, that's too bad, because the team is looking to you. So the kids like Cam who have been able to embrace that role, and I've seen young quarterbacks not be able to understand, guys who have had to play as sophomores lead men. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? 18-year-old guys, and like, no, you're the leader. And that comes with the position. And I think the difference is when you have a quarterback that can embrace that role and step up and say, you know what, I am going to be the leader, and I am going to accept what comes with that. And, what I used to tell my quarterbacks when I coached them, like, listen, you've got to make decisions. And if you make the wrong one, when you come back over here, I'm going to rip your head off, all right, because you made a mistake. But if you make the mistake and it works, I'm going to pat you on the butt and say, great job. That's the position.
Right.
But you can't, you got to have confidence, and you've got to have that leadership in you to where you can carry the burden and the load of leadership for your team. And the great ones can do that, and it's naturally built in them.
Has that dynamic since last year changed for you a little bit, evolved, I guess? I mean, did you feel as comfortable doing that last year as you are this year?
No, last year I was really scared, timid. There was a lot on my plate. Every week I heard rumors about me transferring over. He only transferred over because of football. He transferred over. They lost to Lexington. Like, I felt like my name, and I was doing exactly what I wasn't supposed to do. I was listening to the other people, and I wasn't worried about what was going on at our school in our locker room. And so I believe last year was kind of just like, what do they say? Like you got a slap in the face. You get ready, like, this is reality now. Like, this is what I'm going to have to deal with. You can either listen to what the people say or go change that. And so I'm going to go change that. I don't like when my name's thrown around bad like that. And if you talk about me, you talk about Cam Todd, I want it to be positive, not, oh, yeah, this and that. Lost to Lexington, not a leader, not a quarterback, 5-5. So, I mean, it was sort of like a wake-up call to me, and I kind of took that to heart. And so I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And if they don't like it, sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you got to be, in a way, selfish. Like, if I'm gonna grab this team all by their collars, and if they don't like it, then they can do whatever they want after that. But I mean, as of now, it's working all right for us.
That's not necessarily easy for a lot of kids to do. I mean, that's not something that a lot of kids are comfortable doing.
Yeah, it's got to be what I call innate part of who you are, and because you don't get that. You know what I mean? Can nobody teach that to you? You have to have that, and when you can lead your team, that means that even through them not liking it, through the tough times, through losses, bad games, or all of that, you still got to be able to stand up and lead your team, because if you don't, where you're the one guy that has the destiny of the game is in your hand. You have the ball every single time, every single offensive play, and it's a lot that goes with that. But it's great to see. I've always been a fan of great quarterback play. And in high school, if you got great quarterback play and you got efficient quarterback play, and what impresses me more than all the numbers that we've been talking about with Cam is his turnovers. And I've always said quarterback turnovers are more vital to the game than anything. If a quarterback turns the ball over, it changes the game like nothing else in a game does. And whether a quarterback fumbles it, where he throws a pick, no matter how he turns it over, quarterback turnovers generally change the game. And so the fact that he's been so efficient and has been able to take care of the football, that's what's most impressive to me.
And, yeah, he hasn't thrown an interception since week 3 at Westerville North.
Right.
I mean, there's more than 100 attempts, I think, there
Right.
since then. So that's doing the job. I think you had one of your best games, not your best, but one of your best statistically was against Sandusky. I think you completed 17 out of 22 or 17 out of 23 maybe. And 2 of those incompletions, you were clocking the ball. You were killing the clock at the end of the first half.
Right.
So we're talking, 17 out of 19, 17 out of 20, right around there. Threw a couple touchdown passes. That was the Angelo Gross game where he made some circus catches. And you touched on it a little earlier. I mean, he's got to make. Well, I'll ask you, how much easier does Angelo Gross make your job?
Angelo makes everybody's job easier, whether that's the defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, or offensive coordinator. Angelo, when you talk about Angelo, like he's just one of those names that's going to be around for a while. Like people around Mansfield, whether he knows it or not, it's going to be talking about him when maybe his kids go here, his great grandkids go here. Oh, you're Gross. Oh, do you know Angelo Gross? Like that's what it's going to be. But I mean, if you know Angelo, he doesn't get caught up in all that name stuff or Michigan State stuff. He still wants to be a kid just like all of us and live in the moment. But I'll tell you what, his brother Avion's on his way to fill those shoes just the same. So it's exciting to see both of them. I mean, all our receivers. I mean, we have Choki's youngest son out there starting for us, and that's fun. CJ came from South Carolina. I mean, there's athletes that want to play football, want to have fun. That's what we all want to do.
Right. Now, last week, I think you did have your best game statistically for the year. You completed, 20 out of 23 passes against Ashland for 238 yards. Offensively, you guys scored 56 points. I think you punted once. But I think what a lot of people are going to remember about that game had nothing to do with completions or touchdown runs or touchdown passes. I tell you what, we'll take a quick break, pay the bills here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that. You're listening to West 4th and Goal, presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company. We'll be right back.
Old Carolina Barbecue has recently installed a new drive-thru at their 2035 4th Street location in Ontario, Ohio. Go ahead and grab some authentic barbecue inspired by the Great Carolinas, and be sure to use the drive-thru. Old Carolina Barbecue, where the best barbecue in town is slow smoked with quick service.
Welcome back to West 4th and Goal, presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company. I'm Kurt Conrad here with co-host Effie James and producer Noah Jones, and we're joined by Mansfield Senior quarterback Cam Todd. Now, Cam, before the break, we were talking a little bit about last week's win over Ashland. You accounted for almost 300 yards in that game and 4 touchdowns. But during that game, Ashland's Triton Schuster suffered, it was a grisly leg injury. I don't think there's any other way to put it than that. He was, taken off the field, but right before play resumed, you sought him out on the Ashland sideline and, just wanted to let him know. We'll let you tell that story. I mean, what did you say to him, and are you surprised that it has garnered as much attention as it has?
So yeah, I forget what play it was. It might have been a counter, and like I said, I saw him rolled up. He was on the ground. The ankle's not really the first place I looked, but I heard everyone moaning and groaning. I take a look back, and it was his ankle. And I believe it or not, I had similar injury, same reaction, sophomore year. Broke my ankle, 17 seconds left in the game, and instead of anyone coming for me, they all ran away from me, and I felt at the time alone. I mean, what am I going to do? My ankle's broke. I mean, everyone took off to the sideline crying and screaming, yelling. So, I mean, I couldn't imagine what he was going through, especially with his being like at least 10 times worse than mine. I mean, I saw that ankle. It was all opposite directions, and he was in good spirits, and I went over there, just running over there thinking same thing going through my head. I mean, when I saw that ankle, I thought of mine and what I was thinking of what's next, what's the next to come. I went over there, and I was like, hey, prayer's going your way, man. God's got you. God's in your hands. Like, he knows what to do. This happened for a reason. And I'm allowed to talk about my faith, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so when I broke my ankle, actually, sophomore year, that's what eventually led me to Christ, is I didn't have anything to do. I didn't have football to go to for 3 hours, didn't have basketball for 4.5 hours or whatever that was. I had therapy for 2 hours after school, started going to church with now my god brother, and then started to, actually pay attention, actually see what church was about, and next thing you know, I'm led to Christ getting baptized, so I ran over to him, just was like, bro, prayers to you, and he just texted me before I pulled up, actually, so trying, if you're listening, bro, prayers to you, 6 weeks, had surgery today, everything successful. 6 weeks, no wait, but 3-month recovery. So I hope things are going well for him. But like I said, I just went over there, and I didn't really know people who were paying attention. That's just my first instinct. I had to go check on him. make sure he was all right and high spirits because that's been in that situation before.
Yeah, and if he is listening, we're certainly pulling for him. Hopefully, a speedy recovery. And F, you can speak to it too. I mean, for a football player, injury is a dark, lonely time, and
it is.
I would imagine you do some looking in the mirror then too.
Yeah, it's a time where you really evaluate everything. Do I want to play anymore? Will I be able to play anymore? Is it worth me trying to play? You questioning everything. You're questioning God. You're questioning everything when you have a serious injury, and to have something like that happen on the field is, it could be devastating. So I really appreciated what Cam done for the young man, because that is something that he will never forget. Because it's a lonely place, and when you're not playing, they can say what they want, and teammates try to cheer you up, but it is not the same. And you feel like you are not a part of the team, and because you're not playing, and you can't be out there with your brother. So, again, that is something that requires somebody to pray for you, help you out, and be a support person for you. That was awesome.
And a lot of people were surprised that a player would do that to a guy on the. I mean, I would have been surprised just knowing Cam as well as I do. Yeah. Had he not done something like that. I mean, that's just the type of kid he is. Are you surprised that people were taken aback the way they were?
I kind of was. Yeah. Like, I know, like, all I remember is going over to him, saying something to him, dabbing him up, like, grabbing his hand. The players were like, hey, thanks, means a lot, dabbing up some of them on the way back to the huddle. Other than that, play went on. And then after the game is when it really hit me, is when I had some people telling me, like, you're awesome, you're amazing for that. And, like, I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I had to think for a second. I was like, what for?
Right.
And then they were like, well, you got a standing ovation from Ashland. And I was like, why? Like, what are they? Like,
I was just being a human.
Yeah. I was like, and they were like, well, you ran over there. I was like, okay, I know I did that. And they were like, it just like, it sat with us in a way, like, we just felt like that doesn't happen so often. And I was like, okay, like, that's just, I mean, that's me. Like, like I said, it would have been me. It would have not been me to not go over there. Like, I had to say something to him. And I remember at halftime, because it happened just before halftime, and we do the little, like, whatchamacallit, like, where the captains go, and I think it's the stupidest thing in the world. Then they ask them if we want the ball or they want the ball. Right. Like, I don't know why we do that, but it's so funny. And Mitch was up there. Me and Mitch are good buddies. And I was like, hey, bro, I was like, after the game, text me. If he's at the hospital, I want to go see him, something. I was like, just text me right after the game. And then my econ teacher is from Ashland. His daughter is in the band in Ashland. He was at the game, and he was like, you were just the talk of the town after that, after you went over there and agreed. Just a small measure. I mean, just goes a long way. I mean, I don't think I was like, through my mind, I was like, well, if I go dab him up, then maybe people will recognize or something like that. Like, it's just like, that's who I am. That's just what I went and did. And I feel like it's cool that it blew up maybe, but I feel like people should take this and run with it and pass it on.
Right.
Do another good
maybe
deed.
That's what people should be. Yeah. Everybody should be doing.
Yeah.
I think what people maybe finally got to see was a human moment that you don't normally get to see in football, because it's a war. You're literally crushing into people, and I think that you get this sort of barbaric-esque sport going on, and you rarely ever get to see those human moments. And I think that was super refreshing. And I think that maybe if people don't know you in Ashland, that's probably what they were seeing for the first time, is someone being a genuinely nice guy in the middle of a football battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Saturday night, it was a eventful weekend for Mansfield Senior students. Saturday night at the homecoming dance, there was a bomb threat, I guess, called in. But by all accounts, it was handled just about as well as it could be, all things considered. The students were, they were very respectful and stood outside in the cold weather, and the faculty and staff did their job. The authorities did their job. Cam, you were en route to Mansfield Senior?
I was en route to Mansfield's homecoming, and I showed up and saw the first person, and I was like, party got moved outside, or like, what, did I miss something? They were like, no, bomb threat. I was like, all right, well, I headed to I had two of them to go to, and the time I was supposed to be spending there was outside, so then I just took off to my other homecoming, And to find out in school is just that everything was handled well from what I know. I mean, kudos to all our teachers, like people high up. And I know that they're doing their job is because none of the kids like them. So
Right.
that's how I know they're doing their job. Like when I'm in the lunch line and all I hear is, I hate so-and-so this, so-and-so that, I'm like, I just want kudos to them. Like they're doing their job. Like, thank you. Like, or else we wouldn't be complaining. Yes, you yelling at us to get in line or be respectful or take our hoods off. No hoods in school. Thank you. We need, obviously, because since we can't follow the rules ourselves, someone needs to tell us, and you're over here babysitting us. So thank you very much. But other than that, bomb threat, I mean, that's a sign that it was handled, right? I don't know no other news besides that was it. So, I mean, that's a good sign it was handled perfect.
Well, that's a pretty refreshing perspective for a
Yeah.
17, 18-year-old kid, right?
Right. I think that when you have that, it's, when you have leaders in the school, I'm one of those people that believe you can't turn certain characteristics, you can't turn on and off. So you can't be a leader on the football field, but then not be in the school. And same thing, I've always said you can't, when I coached, I always told kids, like, listen, the kids who struggled with work ethic on the basketball court, on the football field, also struggled with homework assignments, because work ethic is one of those things. Either you're a hard worker or you're not. It's not like I work hard in this or not. So those things that you go through, and the homecoming thing was, a whole different aspect for me. I had a 15-year-old daughter there, and, she knows I was en route when she called me and told me I was on my way to pick her up. But luckily they got things handled. I thought they handled that very well.
Yeah, Stan Jefferson said very high praises of the whole situation at the school board meeting last Tuesday. Yeah. And I think that all in all, I mean, Jay Allred, our publisher, wrote a very positive reaction piece and just basically congratulating all of the high school students for basically not letting something so horrifying affect their evening. And they have, sidetrack a little bit, but the Mansfield Tigers have so much to celebrate as of right now. Educationally and football team-wise, there's just so much good going on in the school district that, someone calling in a bomb threat is almost more offensive now than it would be any other time, because it's like you're trying to rain on our parade. And seriously, mad kudos to the entire staff and students for not allowing that to affect their vibe that night.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn our attention, I guess, to this week's game. We may as well talk about what is the de facto Ohio Cardinal Conference Championship game, since we got you here. You guys, Mansfield Senior is at Worcester. They're going to Follis Field to take on the Generals. Worcester is actually a half game ahead in the OCC standings. They've played one more conference game than you guys have. You guys are both undefeated. It's a 0 in the loss column, I think, that everyone is concerned about. Worcester is lost to some very good teams. They lost to Orville in the opener. That's the defending Division V state champ. Lost to Wadsworth and Dover, I think. Very good competition that they're playing, and they're competing with those teams. What do you expect this week from the Generals?
I expect them to come out pumped up, ready to go. I mean, war ready, straight up. Knowing Worcester, since playing them since like a little bit middle school, but in high school, like especially knowing them, no matter what game it is, their coaches get them ready. They're big and physical, and they know that. They know that they're strong. They know that they're big, and especially, we're going on their field.
Right.
And it's essentially what most people are saying, the OCC championship. So I'd say adrenaline's going to be there. And it's going to be, 48 minutes of chin strap football. Like, buckle up. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm ready for it to go. But, I expect them to come out with nothing but bad intentions and to play against us. And I feel like we need to meet that energy, and I feel like we can. But we just need to prepare tomorrow, walk through tomorrow, and get our minds right. And our minds start getting right after tomorrow's practice.
As a coach, sometimes you have to manufacture that sort of that's not this isn't one of those times, I wouldn't imagine.
No, absolutely. One of these games, you would think that your kids understand that the gravity of this game and what it means. Sometimes you can get spoiled when you're in a quality program with the number of championships, and you could take games for granted. But winning a conference championship in this league is difficult. You know what I mean? It is very hard, to win the league. And, last year, the Tigers were 5-5, and you look at the way the league is kind of turned upside down, and every year it seems to be that way because it's hard to win championships. So, to take a game for granted in the league, both teams would be making a huge mistake. And I will say one of the toughest things to do, besides getting a team that's maybe not as talented as another team, is taking a team that has shown that they are, at this point, one of the better, if not the best team in the league, and turning their focus up another notch to get ready to play a team. That's difficult because as at the end of the day, they're still teenagers, and it's hard to convince them that, look, you can lose.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can lay an egg and you can get beat even by a lesser team, and that's that's the challenge and I think to this point the Tiger staff has done a great job, but yet that's another challenge awaiting them this week because like Cam said, Worcester will be ready to play. They always are.
And this is the sort of thing, and again, you guys probably aren't looking too far down the road. This is the type of game you need to play going into the postseason.
Sure.
This is the type of atmosphere it's going to be when you get to Week 11. It's the type of competition you're going to see when you get to Week 11.
Most of all, the physicality of this game it's a playoff type physicality, and that's what, as a football purist, you appreciate. Sometimes you can get in these games where it's all bubble screens and pitch sweep, and at some point you're going to have to knuckle up and play, and that's what this game is going to be about. It's not going to be one with the flashy plays. It's going to be one in the trenches, and these two teams both have quality interior linemen, and those are the battles that I'm looking forward to seeing this week.
I'm excited just talking about it. How do you, Cam? How do you try to rein in all those emotions and focus on the task at hand?
It's honestly, I love it. I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. And my parents always told me embrace the moment, embrace everything that's getting thrown at you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it in. I'm probably going to get 45 minutes of sleep the night before.
And that's probably about 15 minutes too much, I would imagine, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to be ready to go. I might feel sick to my stomach, butterflies, obviously all that good stuff. But, it's there, and that's the rush you get for the game. That's the joy. If you don't feel some type of excitement or some type of nervous is just mixed emotions. So, although I might seem nervous, I'm really just excited. I don't know how to express it. So, that's the rush. And then when it's gone, there's no guarantee after high school whether I'm going to play or not. I'm going to miss it, so I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with it. I love it. I hope my team's doing the exact same.
Right. Now, that's the biggest game in the area, I think, but it's certainly not the only game in the area. There's some other interesting games for local fans. Ashland's 2-5, 2-1 in conference, a game back after the loss to Senior last week. They're at Lexington, who's also 2-5. Mm-hmm. The Arrows were able to do something a lot of teams have tried and failed, and that's move the ball against Senior High. I think they had season highs in yardage and points in terms of against Mansfield Senior's defense. Lex got down 17-0 at West Holmes last week. They managed to come back and win that game. They drove, I think, the better part of 90 yards in the last minute to secure that win. That's a game, and Cam, you've seen them both in the last couple of weeks. That should be, that conflicting styles to be sure, but a game that could be potentially pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, I am best friends. Like I said, I know everyone. I know the whole Ashland roster. I know the whole Minuteman roster. So I know there's definitely not mutual feelings towards going into this game. So where's it at Lex?
It's at Lex.
At Lex. So maybe a little bit advantage Lex because they're on grass and Ashland's used to turf maybe, but that's gonna be a ball game. That's gonna be what you want to turn into. Obviously, if you're not watching Mansfield Worcester, obviously, but if you're not watching that game, you might want to tune in because I think both schools got some unfinished business from last year,
right?
Some unfinished business from Pee Wee football 10 years ago.
And there's no love lost between those two programs.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely some fuel going into that game. I hear it from my friends. I'm seeing it on Snapchat, seeing it on Instagram. I feel like they're both going to come out to play. Both quarterbacks, Cole Poly, Mitch Heilman, those are two gunslingers right there. Two gunslingers. I think both of them have underrated offensive line. Both their offensive lines are really good. Both have solid defense. I think it's going to be a good all-around game. I'm excited to hear about it after our game. So, I usually do text the boys right after on the bus. And, if there's a I think there's a WMFD has that maybe. There might be, I don't know. If there's a replay, I'll definitely be watching it.
Right on.
And texting them at each play. I see nice tackle here. Could have done this better. Could have done that better. But, those are my boys. So, it should be a fun game. High school football doesn't get any better than this.
Right. Clear Fork, 5-2, 2-1 in the MOAC is at Marion Pleasant. 5-2. Pleasant is 1-2 in the conference. These two teams have played some pretty good games here the last couple of years. I think last year it was decided by 2 points. The year before at Pleasant it was decided with a field goal in overtime. I mean, they have played a couple of instant classics, and I see no reason why that's going to change this week.
No, I think it's going to be a really good game. That MOAC conference is, it's interesting altogether. And so to see these two teams getting together again and seeing, Pleasant as, they're in a place where they could say, man, we could be even in better had we played a better game here or there.
Right.
We could be, running this thing right now. And Clear Fork's probably got to feel the same as well. So it's good. I love when conference league titles and league championships come down to the wire, and we get to see these games that count in weeks 8, 9, and 10. And the MOAC is still up for grabs, and it's great to see that.
Another one of those MOAC schools is Shelby. They're coming off a disheartening loss, I would think. Last week they lost 13-12 to Gallion. I think a lot of people thought that that they were going to break the scoreboard with those two offenses. It turned out to be a defensive struggle, and Gallion made a great defensive stand in the last minute to preserve that win.
Yeah.
They welcomed Lima Central Catholic to Skiles Field for. That's a pretty tough non-conference game this late in the year. I mean, it's not going to do anything to determine the MOAC championship, but Shelby's still battling for a playoff spot. A win over a 6-win LCC team. Granted, LCC is a Division 6 school, but still 6 wins. Those are some second-level computer points right there available.
Sure.
That's a big game.
It is, and playing non-league at this point of the season, you could look at it in a few different ways, but I always enjoyed it because you can prepare your kids for a different look. You can do things that maybe not that you're trying to experiment, because you're definitely trying to win the game. But the game is all about playing as hard as you can and getting better, using the game to get better, because the ultimate goal is to win the league title. So if you can use these games to get better and adapt to different types of styles that you're going to see, it's a great experience, because most teams are playing like games that count toward the league at this point in the year. So you bring in a non-conference opponent, it's all about getting better at that point, and that's a benefit to any school that does that at this point.
Right. Another team that is playing a non-conference game. Every game's a non-conference game for them. It's the Lucas Cubs.
Yeah.
They're coming off a huge win. They beat a Division II school, Columbus St. Charles, and not a bad Division II school. It's a St. Charles school with I think 4 wins. How difficult is it for a Division VII school just to compete with a team like that?
It's difficult, and I had to I spoke with Coach Spittler today just by chance, and he was talking about how this being independent is a challenge, just trying to schedule games and all of that, but they also get the benefit of seeing a ton of different styles, a ton of different levels of schools, and it says a lot about your program that the number of boys that you have in your school is it's to have that many number of boys, and then to look at another school that by times 5,
right?
And you have to play them, and I remember in the days of the old conference we played in, we'd have to play teams like Massillon and St. Ed's, who had 1,000 boys, and we had 400 boys. And you still expected to compete. So that says a lot about, Lucas and their program. And he said they didn't do anything special. They just played their game, and it doesn't matter the competition. And so for them, having another, non-league opponent is all about getting better. And for them, it's, playoff points. It's all about playoff points for them, since they don't have a league title to play for.
Right, and they are at Lancaster Fisher Catholic. That's a 6-win Lancaster Fisher Catholic team.
It's a big game.
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine that's another one of those games. It's going to feel like a playoff game.
Absolutely.
You got to drive 2.5 hours to get to Lancaster. You're going to play a good team.
Yep.
And Cam, you got some relatives down there. I would imagine is that something you keep an eye on down there?
Yeah, my cousin Celeste is in the band, and she's always keeping me up. I don't know half the names of the schools they play, but from most of the time, from what I hear,
I don't either. That's my job.
That they're beating them up, and I just remember, since my little cousin's if you're in middle school, you're allowed in the high school band, which I always thought was funny, and then I realized that's just their numbers are down. So, I mean, since like 5th grade when I had my older cousin in there, she'd be like, oh, yeah, we just drove 3.5 hours for a playoff game and won 62-0. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, no discredit to Lucas. I mean, they're doing their thing. They're in their own conference. I mean, they're over here, like I said, beating Division II teams. I might not know what's going on in offense, but it's working. Whatever it is, it's working for them. So kudos to them.
That's going to about wrap it up here for West 4th and Goal presented by Old Carolina Barbecue Company. We'd like to thank Mansfield Senior Cam Todd for joining us in studio this week.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And on behalf of Effie James and producer Noah Jones, I'm Kurt Conrad. Thanks for tuning in. West 4th and Goal is a part of the Richland Source Podcast Network and is produced and edited by Noah Jones. I'm your host, Kurt Conrad, and on behalf of co-host Effie James, thanks for listening.